everyone, and welcome back.
It's great to be here.
So today we're diving into something kind of huge.
Yeah.
It's AI and GDPR.
Big topic.
Yeah. How do these super smart tools we're all using now
Right.
play by those data privacy rules?
Exactly.
And we're going to be focusing on Microsoft's approach here.
Okay, sounds good.
We'll be looking at their guide
Right?
and specifically two of their products,
Okay.
Copilot for Microsoft 365
Uh-huh.
and Azure OpenAI Service.
Got it.
The thing is, even though AI feels like it's straight out of the future, the rules around data privacy really haven't changed much, have they?
Yeah. It's an interesting kind of juxtaposition, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like teaching a robot etiquette.
Huh. I like that analogy.
So where do we even start with this?
Well, I think a good place to start is with Microsoft's 6 key principles for AI development.
Okay, what are those?
Fairness, reliability and safety, accountability, privacy and security, inclusiveness, and transparency.
Wow, that's quite a list. It is, but it shows they're taking this seriously.
Yeah, it does, actually.
And what's interesting is these principles actually align really closely with the core values of GDPR.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's not just lip service. They're really trying to build these principles into the foundation of their AI.
Right, so they're walking the walk.
They are.
Okay, so of those 6, which one do you think has the biggest impact on everyday users?
I would say fairness is a big one.
Fairness.
We all want AI systems to treat everyone equally, right?
Yeah, absolutely no discrimination.
Exactly.
So how do they ensure fairness, in practice, with something like Copilot?
So one way is through rigorous testing,
Okay.
using diverse data sets to spot and eliminate biases,
Uh-huh.
even after deployment.
Yeah.
They have dedicated teams that monitor the AI
Got it.
for any issues that crop up in real-world usage.
So it's not just set it and forget it,
Definitely not. It's an ongoing process.
which is good.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, the guide also mentioned this AI assurance program and a customer copyright commitment. Right.
What are those all about?
Okay, so the AI assurance program helps ensure that AI applications deployed on their platforms meet all the legal and regulatory requirements.
And the copyright commitment?
That's about protecting customers who use AI-generated content.
Okay.
Basically, if someone gets sued for copyright infringement over something created with, say, Copilot,
Yeah.
Microsoft has their back.
Wow.
They'll defend them in court and cover any settlements.
So they're putting their money where their mouth is.
Exactly. They're serious about this.
Okay, so that's Microsoft's overall AI philosophy.
Yeah.
But before we get into the specifics of Copilot and Azure,
Sure.
can we do a quick GDPR recap?
Absolutely.
Who does it apply to? What are those key roles?
Okay, so the GDPR applies to any organization anywhere in the world that handles the data of individuals in Europe.
Got it.
And there are 2 main roles: the data controller and the data processor.
Okay, so if I'm using Microsoft's AI tools, would I be the data controller?
Yes, you would. And Microsoft the processor,
Precisely.
meaning I'm responsible for making sure I'm using those tools the right way.
Exactly. You're the one calling the shots.
So wait, even with all of Microsoft's safeguards, I can't just assume I'm automatically GDPR compliant?
That's a common misconception.
Really?
Yeah, it's a shared responsibility.
Okay.
Microsoft provides tools designed for privacy,
Uh-huh.
but you still have the ultimate responsibility for how you use them.
So it's a partnership.
Exactly.
Now, speaking of partnerships, Microsoft has those 7 core privacy commitments for AI,
Right.
and these seem to address a lot of people's worries about AI and data.
They do. They're very transparent about how data is used.
Okay, so what are some of the key ones?
Well, they emphasize that they keep your organization's data private.
So when I type into Copilot, the outputs it generates?
All that it's considered your data,
Okay.
and you control how it's used.
And what if I use my own data to customize something like Copilot?
Good question.
Does it get mixed in with other people's data?
Absolutely not.
Okay, good.
They do not use customer data to train their models without explicit permission.
That's reassuring.
And if you do customize a model with your own data, it's only accessible to you.
So no data mingling?
Nope, your data stays within your own little AI sandbox.
Okay, what else stood out to you?
Well, they also commit to respecting your existing access controls.
Meaning?
If someone in your organization isn't authorized to see certain data,
Yeah.
Copilot can't access it either.
So it's like an extension of our existing security?
Precisely.
And they don't share data with third parties without permission.
Right, that includes OpenAI.
So those conspiracy theories about our data being fed to some giant AI overlords.
At least as far as Microsoft's concerned, those are unfounded.
Okay, so no AI overlords.
Not here.
Good to know.
They also provide robust security measures to protect that data.
Which is good.
And there's a whole section in their guide about GDPR obligations in the AI world.
Oh, perfect, because I think that's a great segue into the next part of our deep dive.
All right, let's do it.
We'll get into the nitty-gritty of how those GDPR principles work in practice.
Sounds good.
But first, a quick break.
All right, so let's unpack some of those key GDPR obligations that Microsoft talks about in the guide.
Okay, sounds good.
Transparency is a good place to start.
Right, because being upfront about how AI is being used and what data it's accessing is just crucial for building trust, right?
It is. And the GDPR really emphasizes that with clear and concise privacy notices, they need to clearly explain how data is being handled.
Okay, so if I'm using AI in ways that aren't already covered in my existing privacy notices.
You'll need to update them.
Got it, makes sense.
Yeah, it's like adding a new chapter to the rule book.
Exactly, to account for these new AI players.
Right.
Now, what about those data subject rights?
Yes.
You know, those rights individuals have regarding their own data.
Access, correction, deletion, all of that.
Exactly.
It's all part of the GDPR.
And Microsoft says they help you respond to those requests.
They do. They provide tools and processes to make fulfilling those requests as smooth as possible.
So they're not just like, hey, you're on your own, figure it out.
No, they understand it can be complex.
Right.
So they're trying to help their customers do the right thing.
That's really good to hear.
Yeah.
So data subject rights, check.
What else?
Data security.
Oh, of course. Huge one.
Big one.
What do they say about that?
They go into a lot of detail about their technical and organizational measures.
Okay.
Like encryption access controls, regular security audits.
So they're really trying to build Fort Knox around our data.
Basically, yeah, but for AI.
Which is good because even though AI feels so futuristic, it's still bound by those same privacy rules as any other technology, right?
Absolutely. The fundamentals of data protection don't change just because the tech gets more advanced.
Right. It's still about protecting people's data.
Exactly.
I'm feeling much better about this whole AI and GDPR thing. What else is on the checklist?
DPIAs, data protection impact assessments.
Those sound intense.
What are they exactly?
It's an in-depth assessment to identify and mitigate privacy risks.
Before you even launch the AI system.
Exactly. It's like a risk assessment, but for data privacy.
So you're not just unleashing a powerful AI without thinking it through.
Right. You need to be careful.
Makes sense. But when would I need to do one of those DPIAs?
Good question. The GDPR says they're necessary when processing personal data is likely to be high risk.
High risk to
Individuals' rights and freedoms.
So like a red flag?
Exactly.
Hold on, we need to think about this.
Yeah, and they specifically mention that new technologies like AI might trigger the need for a DPIA.
Okay, so AI equals potential high risk.
Potentially, yeah, it depends on the specific use case.
Does Microsoft offer any help with DPIAs?
Do they have guidance and documentation to help you navigate the process?
But they can't do the assessment for you.
Right, because it's so specific to your situation.
Right, of course.
But they give you a framework and resources to help you figure it out.
So it's like they're giving us the tools and blueprints.
It's exactly to build our own privacy-conscious AI operation.
Precisely.
Okay, DPIAs, check.
Yeah.
What about data transfers?
Ah, yes. That's always a tricky one.
It is, especially when data might be crossing borders.
Right. But Microsoft makes it clear that they comply with GDPR rules even for international transfers.
Okay.
They use those approved mechanisms, like the EU standard contractual clauses.
Got it. So my data is protected even if it's flying across the globe.
Exactly. The GDPR has a long reach, and Microsoft is committed to upholding its principles.
Awesome. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground on GDPR here.
We have.
And now I'm really excited to get back to those specific AI tools we were talking about.
Me too.
Let's start with Copilot for Microsoft 365.
All right.
Can you remind us what it is and how it works? Its magic.
Sure. So Copilot for Microsoft 365 is like an AI-powered assistant that lives within your Microsoft 365 apps.
Oh, like?
Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, Teams, all of those.
Got it.
It uses those large language models, those LLMs, to help you work smarter and faster. So it's like having a super intelligent sidekick right there in my Word doc.
Exactly.
Now, one of the things that really stood out to me was that it uses my existing organizational data to provide more personalized help.
Right.
But how does that work exactly? Does it like share my data with OpenAI to generate those responses?
That's a common question, and the answer is no.
Okay, good.
Copilot does not share your data with OpenAI.
So how does it use my data then?
It uses a process called grounding.
Grounding.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now you're going to have to explain that.
Okay, so imagine Copilot is like a researcher.
Okay.
and they need to access a library to do their work.
Right. I'm following.
That library is your organizational data in Microsoft 365.
Okay.
But Copilot can't just take whatever it wants from the library.
Right.
It can only access what you as the user have permission to see.
So it's like it's wearing privacy glasses.
Exactly.
It can only see what I'm allowed to see.
Right. And it uses that information along with your prompts
Okay.
to generate its responses. So no data is being copied or sent anywhere else.
Nope. It's just using it for context
Yeah.
right there in your Microsoft 365 environment.
That makes me feel much better.
Good.
Now, what about security?
Oh, another big one.
Yeah, I know we talked about general security measures earlier, but are there any specific safeguards in place for Copilot?
Yes, absolutely.
Like what?
Copilot benefits from all those same security measures that are already in place for Microsoft 365.
So encryption access controls all that.
Exactly.
Okay, so my Copilot interactions are just as secure as my other Microsoft 365 activities.
Yes, they are.
Good to know. What about data location?
They emphasize that Copilot is covered by the EU data boundary.
Which means?
All data used by Copilot stays within the EU.
Okay, so no unauthorized transfers or access?
Correct.
They really have thought of everything.
They've tried to.
Okay, so Copilot gets a thumbs up from me.
Oh, great.
Now let's move on to Azure OpenAI Service.
Okay.
This is the one for people who want to build their own custom AI applications, right? So how does Azure OpenAI approach data privacy?
Well, they offer a few different ways to use it,
Okay.
each with its own considerations.
Okay, go on.
The first is prompt engineering.
What's that?
You design prompts to guide the AI.
Okay, so the AI isn't accessing or storing any personal data in this case.
Right. It's just responding to your prompts.
That sounds like the most privacy-friendly option.
It probably is.
What are the other options?
There's Azure OpenAI on your data.
What does it mean?
You connect the AI to your own data sources.
Okay.
Internal documents or databases.
To give it more context.
Exactly.
That sounds incredibly powerful, but also a little bit scary.
Uh-huh. I understand.
Because if I'm connecting the AI to my company's data, where does that data go?
Another good question, and Microsoft is very clear about this.
Okay, good.
Your data is not copied or transferred to the AI system itself.
So where does it stay?
It stays in your own data source, your location.
So the AI is more like peeking into my data.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Just to get some context. Exactly.
Without making copies or moving it around.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense. And the third option,
That's fine-tuning.
fine-tuning.
This is where you can actually train the AI on your own data
Okay.
to create a custom model.
All right, so if I upload, say, my company's confidential data to fine-tune a model,
Yeah.
where does that data go? Is it mixed with other people's data?
No, it's not.
Okay, good.
Microsoft is very clear that any training data you upload and any fine-tuned models you create are exclusively yours.
So they're only accessible to me,
Yes. They're stored securely in your Azure tenant.
my Azure tenant.
It's your own private space in the cloud.
So not even Microsoft can see my data.
Correct.
Wow, that's impressive.
They're really prioritizing user control and data isolation.
And I can delete that data whenever I want.
Yes, you have complete control.
This is amazing. They're going above and beyond with data privacy here.
They are.
Anything else about fine-tuning that stands out?
Yeah, they have this feature called Customer Lockbox.
Customer Lockbox, I love that.
Me too. What is it?
It gives you even more granular control over data access.
How so?
It requires your explicit approval before anyone, even Microsoft support, can access your data.
It's like a super secure safety deposit box, but for data.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered the different ways to use Azure OpenAI Service.
We have.
What about those content filtering and abuse monitoring features they mentioned?
Right, so content filtering is like a safety net.
Okay.
It automatically scans the outputs,
Sure.
anything harmful, offensive, inappropriate.
Okay, so preventing the AI from going off the rails.
Exactly.
Which is important because AI-generated content can be so realistic these days.
It can be.
And abuse monitoring.
That involves human review.
Human review. So someone at Microsoft might be looking at my data.
It's a possibility, but Microsoft addresses this directly.
Okay.
That human review is only conducted by authorized employees who are based in the EEA.
The European Economic Area.
Yeah, and it's only in specific cases.
Like when?
Suspected abuse or a need to debug the system.
So it's not like they're reading through every single prompt and output.
No, it's very targeted.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So they're not just blindly trusting the AI to always do the right thing.
Exactly. They're trying to strike a balance,
Okay.
safety and privacy.
Right, because you need both.
You do.
Now, what about for people with really sensitive data?
They offer a limited access option
Okay.
that disables those content management features.
So no data is stored for human review?
Right, but that also puts the responsibility on you to ensure you're using the AI safely and compliantly.
Got it. So it's all about choosing the level of oversight that's right for your needs.
Exactly.
This has been incredibly insightful.
It has been a complex topic.
It is, but it's clear that Microsoft is taking data privacy seriously.
They are.
And they're providing us with the tools we need to comply with GDPR.
Which is great to see.
It really is. It feels like we're on the cusp of something truly transformative with AI.
It does, and Microsoft seems to be leading the charge for responsible AI development.
Yeah, it really feels like we're at a turning point.
It does, doesn't it?
Like with AI, we're on the verge of something incredible.
Definitely.
And it's good to see that Microsoft is committed to doing it responsibly.
Yeah, they seem to be approaching it with a lot of care and consideration.
So to recap,
Yeah.
Microsoft is taking data privacy seriously.
Absolutely.
They're providing us with the tools to make sure we're using AI in a way that complies with GDPR.
That's the key takeaway.
Yeah, it's not just about the cool new tech, it's about using it ethically.
Right. Responsible innovation.
Now, we've talked a lot about how AI uses data, but what about the bigger picture?
Yeah.
Like, what are your thoughts on the ethical implications of AI being able to generate such realistic and creative content?
Oh, that's a huge question.
It is, right?
It's like we're opening up this whole new world of possibilities.
Yeah.
But with that comes a lot of responsibility.
Do you think it could become too powerful?
It's definitely something we need to be mindful of.
Yeah, like we're entering uncharted territory here.
We are, and we need to proceed with caution.
Have those tough conversations about ethics and responsibility.
Absolutely, because this is just the beginning.
This deep dive has given us so much to think about.
It has, and I encourage everyone to keep learning and exploring this topic.
Yeah, this is not the end of the conversation.
Definitely not.
So much more to discover in the world of AI and data privacy.
There is.
And as always, you can find links to all the resources we mentioned in the show notes.
Right, check those out.
Keep learning, keep questioning, stay curious, and we'll see you next time.